please welcome Tara Mills and Declan Harvey.
Oh, we've warmed you up. That is fantastic.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Good work, everybody. For those who aren't in the room, welcome back to the Belfast Media Festival. This is our second programme in front of a live audience here. We are thrilled to be out of the pink pod and with people here and be able to see the whites of their eyes. Earlier on in the week, we were speaking to Dara McIntyre. He was our first guest here at the Belfast Media Festival. And I think most people in the audience agree that was a remarkable contribution from Dara. There are nodding heads. You can't see it. For podcast reasons, make that louder. Yes. All right. Yes, they were nodding their heads immediately.
And hopefully you'll be feeling the same at the end of this episode, because no matter what metric you use, it is fair and accurate to describe Blue Lights as a bona fide hit. The Northern Ireland police drama first appeared on our screens in March 2023, but was immediately commissioned for 3 more series.
There has been an avalanche of praise, not just from audiences, but also from critics, with Michael Hogan in The Guardian most recently saying the 3rd season has been the best, and it is, in his words, rapidly becoming one of the greatest TV series in existence.
So when we were planning our second show in front of an audience here at the Belfast Media Festival, we knew we wanted to speak to some of the stars of Blue Lights.
Yes, we want to learn about them, about the making of the series, and also as local actors who grew up in Northern Ireland, whether they ever imagined starring in a TV series that puts the PSNI front and centre.
Please welcome Inspector Helen McNally, a.k.a. actress Joanne Crawford.
And every police drama needs a shifty intelligence guy. It's Paul Collins, a.k.a. Collie, a.k.a. actor and comedian, Michael Smiley.
How's that? Can you hear me all right?
Right,
Never done one
Don't worry
of
about
these.
them, it's the ones at home who have to hear it.
Okay.
Is this all right? Yeah.
I think we need to report you to PSNI HR for that behaviour.
I was saying there was 2 of us in the room.
Welcome, both of you. And I mean, as you can hear from our audience, everybody is delighted to see you here. And we're so excited to have this opportunity to have a conversation about a big, massive success. And I think there's a kind of sense of pride about the BBC having a big success, but also Northern Ireland. And it's right across the board. It's everywhere. Everyone loves it. Has it changed your life, Joanne?
Yeah, it's kind of work-wise, it's given me a few more opportunities, but it's in lots of ways, it's kind of changed my relationship with here as well. It's because I lived in Dublin for a long time, and coming back and being part of it, I'm getting to know this province again. You know, I grew up in Derry and went to Coleraine. I know there's some Coleraine people here, but lived in Dublin for a long time, because when I left, there just wasn't as much work, like 75 years ago. But, you know, coming back to something that is so specifically of here, and revisiting a lot of your own internal kind of conversations about this place as well. It's been really good that way.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of that we want to talk about. But I suppose in a way, Michael, for you, it was probably something similar. You know, you grew up here, but then you went to London.
Yeah, I went to London in '83, so you know, I've been watching life over here change over the decades, you know, and I've been able to measure it by how little or how much the average British person wanted to talk about it. You know, they'd start off going, what part of Scotland are you from? And I'd say, a wee bit just outside of Scotland called Ireland. And then we'd go from that to, you know, are you an IRA man? To then, my dad's uncle's sister owns a pub, an Irish pub, and then it would go from that into what's going on over there, and then you would try to explain, and they would just drift away, you know, because the English are hard of listening. And you know, and now it's changed completely again, because I think, you know, there's so much good stuff coming out of Northern Ireland. You know, I realise that people listen and learn more through entertainment than they do from dogma. You know, long pieces or long, documentaries don't necessarily grab people because that's what they're expecting to see about Northern Ireland. So then when Derry Girls comes out, or Say Nothing comes out, or, Blue Lights comes out, people are really gripped. And
did you say that to Dara McIntyre's face, or have you waited till he left before you said that?
No, we were arm wrestling about it earlier on. He's got quite the arm on him. He really uses his hips. No, I don't mean that disparaging about just documentaries across the board. I just mean that anything that was coming out of Northern Ireland was always dark, and it was edgy, and it was, educational in a sense, and what I'm saying is that, we get a lot of education through entertainment, and that was a great way to get across the situation in the north of Ireland was, through this. Humanising it.
It's interesting because we spoke to Louise Gallagher on an earlier episode, and she was saying that when they first had the idea, it was sort of 7 years before the first series.
Is Louise here?
Is Louise
Here she is.
Oh, hello. I didn't even see you. Hello. Oh, it's great to have you in the audience. Is she there to check that you said it?
Yes.
Right, okay. But Louise was saying that Northern Ireland wasn't ready for it in terms of the police because we had been through such fundamental change. And I just wonder, Joanne, what was your relationship like with the police growing up? And is it something then that you've had to kind of process in your mind? You touched on it at the beginning there.
Well, I grew up in Derry, one of the original Derry girls, along with Louise. And our community had very little trust in the RUC at the time. So when I left Northern Ireland and went to live in the Republic, I kind of boxed away a lot of that stuff, and kind of went, well, I just want to do other things in life rather than have to think about that and process that. So, I remember one time when I was in Coleraine, I lost my wallet. And I had to go into the police station to see if it had been handed in, and it was terrifying because it was something that you wouldn't have done lightly in Derry anyway. So when I first saw Declan and Adam's scripts, you're looking at something going, this is very different. This is about human beings. This is about humanity. This is about, and then also because the way that they write, they were journalists. I don't know if you guys know this. They both worked for 20 years as journalists. So you have something that's very fundamentally based in truths and in truths and in individual human truths. They also have a heart. They have such a big heart for this place. So that kind of all tied together gave you stories and gave you scripts and gave you characters that when all of us step into it, you're not playing a job, you're playing a person. So getting then to also revisit my version of what it is to have, to be from here.
But did
It's been really
did that balm your way back to moving to Northern Ireland? Would you be living back
I
here
was
without
I was kind of thinking about it because I'd done a couple of more jobs up here actually. And then the other beautiful thing was the more I worked up here and you saw younger generations coming through, you see people who haven't had any one-to-one contact with the conflict that we lived through. And that's really beautiful to see. That really helped to heal my relationship with the place, And I love seeing that.
Should we watch a clip?
No.
No, all right. Because you two have a handful of really quite lovely scenes together, really kind of... do you want to kind of, I don't know, tell us what it's like when you're acting up against Joanne? What's that like? What kind of actress is she from your perspective?
Can we put headphones on her? Like Mr. and Mrs. Well, the first big scene I had in Blue Lights was with Joanne, and it was like a 4-pager. I went in, and I've introduced myself, and we had that. And what was lovely was, as an actor, I think she's brilliant, but as a person, I think she's fantastic as well. And There's a kindness with certain actors that when you, like, one of the things that was important for me was coming into an award-winning show that's been going for 2 seasons. You want to sniff the air and see whether you're friend or foe, whether you're welcome or not, whether how happy the crew is with the cast, how happy the producers are with everything. You know, you're always, how do I work this? What's going to happen? Who's going to be problems? Whatever, you know. And make sure you're not the problem was first and foremost. And there was such a love that everybody had. There was such a melding from the producers right the way down to the runners to, you know, the catering right the way through. Everybody just had a lovely vibe about them, and it made it so much easier. So then when I come in and working with Joanne, she's such a professional as well. She brings a beautiful, and that idea, what I love is the ability to have a dance with another actor. How we can bring the scene up onto its feet, how we can have a wee bit of a dance, which way
just
you, which
expand on that, because this appeals to me.
Just before we go on, Declan was
don't
in
mention it, Tara.
He was
Not
in
in front
a
of these
drama,
two.
a cop drama, The Bill.
I was arrested in the Bill.
Where are
once.
you?
I just think we can't talk about it.
I know. I
men.
didn't want to intimidate you with that. I just felt it was better people know. But I just think this is a really interesting part of the acting craft when actors take what's on the page and then begin what you've described as a dance. Just explain that.
But you can only do the dance if the other person's willing to dance with you and offers the hand out as well for the dance. And instinctively, Joanne did that with me, you know, and so therefore I reciprocated, and I probably was offering the same thing. And if I had met her and she was given the vibe of, we're just here to do the job, I'm here and I've been here for 2 seasons and it's an award-winning show, so just do what you got to do and let's get on with it. We could put together a professional performance, but you don't get that extra
But by its nature, you must have felt that too, Joanne. In the moment, you must have felt the dance begin.
Yeah, and you know, I never see any point of having any resistance with somebody that you're working with, because you get more humanity, you get more of the juice, you get more of those little truthful moments. If you have to, you know, I think you have to be open as an actor. You know, whatever.
And also you get that extra bit that's not on the page and it's not in your intentions. And with that trust becomes a little third thing that pops up. It's like when you're on stage as a stand-up or whatever and you start improvising and the audience know that this is new and this is brilliant and it won't be repeated again and you're doing exactly the same. We're all like,
Exciting.
you know,
Yeah,
like playing with this thing. And you can do that with another actor, and that's what really drives through it then. And you know that if you're going to be watching that on TV, you're not going to go, oh, look, they're really getting on with each other. You're going to believe what's on the page has come off the page with all those extra bits of ingredients, you know.
Well, with that in mind, let's have a listen.
You both laughed there at the start. Why was that?
I don't know. It's just
Is it hard to watch yourself?
Yeah,
on
it's
screen even at
a
this
funny
point?
thing, because also your memory of it is you know, the two of us and a crew in a room, and that was one of the first things we did as well. And
Yes.
what was fun was we were trying to find a history as well without playing it out.
And try not play it too much, you know, not play the big, he's back,
Yeah.
you know, and say, oh God, not you again, type thing, you know what I mean? At the same time, have that bit of history, and that's what I'm talking about, the generosity and the kindness, but also there's there's something centered in it, which I really like. The bit when she becomes exasperated with me really makes me laugh, because that sort of gives away the history too. Oh, come on, for God's sake, you're always like that type thing.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that was talked about after the first series, but I think it has sort of persisted throughout, is that it has changed the public's perception of the police, because whether you've supported them or, you know, felt ambivalence towards them or felt, you know, stronger feeling than that towards them in terms of the RUC, there's something now. And I think it's partly because the PSNI allowed you to use the uniform and the cars. And so I remember after the first series, you know, I think it was actually the Good Friday Agreement, kind of commemorations, if you like, at Queen's, and there was a big police presence, and I just finished the first series, and I was like, oh, hi, going, catch yourself on, they're not the cast blue lights.
I wonder what they said when they got home that evening.
But I wonder, do the police react to you? I do think it has had something that, any PR people would have given, they paid tens of thousands of pounds to kind of shift the mentality around the police and how it's viewed in a different, more peaceful society.
Have any police come up to you?
Well, the feedback I've had from cops is it's the only show the cops watch. It's the only police show the police watch, because the procedure's so bang on, and the stories are so near to their experiences themselves. So it's less like The Bill.
Yes, I got a lot of that after The Bill.
In that
Thanks
sense.
for raising that again.
But,
Do you know?
And now we're built on the shoulders of The Bill, I'm sure.
But there's something about it is so particularly Northern Irish as well. I mean, I think that last scene when Shane comes back,
Isn't it gorgeous?
it is just, I think it's the most Northern Irish thing I've ever seen on television. It could have happened in any office, in any workplace. The crack, the winding everybody up, pretending, oh yeah, whatever, oh hi, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just genius,
It's gorgeous,
actually.
isn't
And
it?
was it? I know you weren't in that scene.
I was there in spirit.
You were there in spirit. You were there. You were singing along. What was that like to film? Because you do get the sense that it's
because also like the way that the piece is structured, you get maybe I was trying to count the other day. 7, 8, 9, 10 maybe storylines that weave beautifully throughout this. I don't know how Declan and Adam do it. They're amazing. So we don't. Sometimes you could go through a whole series and you don't cross paths on screen with some of the other actors. So every time there's like a briefing room scene, or like there's a whole gang of us together, it's the one day that the director gets a little bit, okay, now everybody needs to calm back down again, and sometimes a producer might turn up just to make sure that we're doing what we should be doing, because we're all just delighted to see each other, and we all, and again, because we are in these parallel storylines with little overlaps, we really do feel like brothers in arms, going, are you okay? Are you getting on okay? And everybody just loves each other's work so much. So there's real camaraderie there, and everybody really likes each other. And then, it was fairly towards the end of the shoot as well, because we don't always shoot in sequence, that we did film it. So it was very, very joyful. No, it was joyful for an hour and a half, because the crews are amazing and they get stuff put together very quickly, and then you're moving on to the next bit. But it did feel like a beautiful little moment for all of us. And then it was at the wrap party, it was played, and there, nobody was sitting down. We were all up having a go at that. So it was
Have you
like
watched
it was
the whole
gorgeous.
thing? Have you watched the whole all the seasons?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't watched series 1 and 2 yet.
Oh, not in it. Nah. I
Why
hear it got
would you
really
bother,
good at number
Michael?
3.
Why would you need to?
We
No.
were saying it had gone up a notch in season 3, and we were trying to figure out why.
I know.
That was
So
happening.
it still confines me.
Would you ever consider coming back? I mean, you're in London a long time now, but...
Every time I'm away from it, I want to come back, and every time I'm here, I realise why I left. And there's aspects from here that are just joyous. I'll come back to London again, and I'm just full of it. My accent's quicker and stronger, and my wife's looking at me going, "Chill out, man." You know what I mean? But and then I come home, and I still call it home after 40 odd years. But and I come back, and I'm used to that metropolitan life. If I'm being honest, it's not England, it's not even London, it's Brixton. It's that London's just packed all the time, and I love that. I grew up in a housing estate on the outskirts of Belfast. I grew up in a if you could call Old Hollywood Road suburban, but that idea of going into town, going into Belfast for the action, and now I live in the action, and I've got friends who, actors who then became more famous and moved out to the countryside, and I would, if I had to move out of London, I would recalibrate where I would go. But at the moment, that's just my life. I've got a wife, I've got an ex-wife, I've got 4 kids, I've got 2 grandkids. You know what I mean? My life's there. and amongst them, really. And it's not, I've started realising, because the whole thing of that, there's that lovely Welsh word, hiraeth, which it's a longing, a yearning for home, or recognising that where you are is not where you're supposed to be, that there's somewhere else you're supposed to be. And that yearning, is, the Welsh call it hiraeth, and I'm in the middle of hiraeth. And then when I get here, it's not what I imagined it was. So actually, hiraeth is something I've made in my head. It's a little blanket that I've stitched to keep me warm. So my idea of home is not what it is when I turn up. And it's not the detriment of anybody. It's just something that it's been keeping me warm over the years. So it's somewhere I can never really return to, I don't think.
And Joanne, will you stay, do you think?
I think so, yeah. I mean, you never kind of know what work might do, but I'm happy to be back here. Yeah. It's been a good process the last couple of years, and this bit of the world's been very good to me, and I'm enjoying that. And yeah, and also, I was in Dublin for a long time. I've done the opposite. I'm kind of breathing out and seeing what that's like for a while,
And
which
trying
I'm
it
quite
on for
enjoying.
size again. And in terms of face recognition, I mean, you must find that you would have had that anyway with a certain sort of number of people in the audience that recognise you from other projects that you've been involved in. But this is different. This is almost like being in a soap opera, isn't it? That level of recognition when it comes to the public.
I would guess so, in particular here, because also I think people here have got this show is quite close to their hearts, because I think they do feel that it's a truthful recognition of them, and a truthful kind of story of them. In the same way, I'm sure in Manchester, Coronation Street, the Mancunians must love that show because it's such their voice. I think that the writers have done that here, so.
But also
there is
the casting is so interesting. I mean, you'll both know what it was like whenever the Northern Ireland accent wasn't on. That it was...
I went to London. I could clear a pub by asking for a pint.
Yeah.
And even in Dublin, they'd kind of, you go in for an audition and they're like, don't know quite what to do with you. And then you go, I can do other accents.
Can you play an alcoholic terrorist? Maybe. That's usually what you were being offered.
But I think most viewers here, after watching the first season, that was the thing. Oh, all these people that they weren't English and had to put on a Northern Irish accent.
Yeah.
I think that was the most surprising thing about and I think it's that authenticity that people relate to, but they relate to it, that people in Manchester and London and in Dublin can also feel the authenticity
and also
of
they're
the
not
story
being
and the actors.
patronised as well. We're not patronising the people. So that makes it, the line blurs because of the authenticity of the writing, but also, when you're performing, it feels like we're the characters when we're doing it because the writing is so good, but also when the audience are watching it, they have that connection also because you're not being patronised. That's one of the great things for me coming home, is that there's so much good work in the island of Ireland, all over, that you come back and you're seeing the levels of stories coming out and the professionalism and the Belfast people are used to people filming, and I love that connection. I get a lot here and I love it. I just love that people going, all right, how you doing? You go, oh, nice one, mate. You know what I mean? They make eye contact. The big difference in Belfast and London, when I make eye contact here, we both know it because we both saying to each other, I'm not a threat and it's okay and good luck, right? But if I make eye contact in London, people look away because they think, what's he doing? What's he want from me? Whereas if I looked away from you in Belfast, you'd be going, what's he looking at? Why is he not looking at me? What's going on here? It's a slight difference in perceptions of each other, When you come back here, people are really open and honest with you.
I think just going back to what you were saying as well, I think there's something about, and this is for all the wonderful young talent out there in the audience, there's something about what we seem to have recognised is there's great connection in specificity. I think sometimes we see dramas, and maybe about 10 years ago there was a trend for making dramas that weren't too specific, in their idea, and I think maybe some of it also came from funding, where you might have had, like Denmark and Portugal and Ireland trying to fund something together.
Line of Duty is a good example of that. We feel like it's so from here, but actually it's never actually set here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Although, I mean, Line of Duty is wonderful.
Of course.
But just in terms of, and I think Derry Girls was probably our first example of, you make something that's so specific and so honest to the voice of a place, and we think, like I remember I read the scripts for Derry Girls, and I was like, I wonder how this is going to go down. And then boom, there's nowhere that you can go, not that I've been all around the world, but I was go to America a bit, and I was just in Switzerland the other day. I don't travel that much, but there we go. And in both places, people, when you say you're from Derry, say, oh, Derry Girls, I've watched Derry Girls. And this, and what people love, and I think what makers have started to understand is, if we tap into the specificity of who we are, whether it's our history or whether it's today, human beings really love the specifics of other human beings' life. And that storytelling actually becomes much more transmittable than if we try and tell, well, let's kind of blur the specifics of who these people are, the way they dress, the way they speak, whatever it happens to be. Let's make things generic. It's like, no, tap into wherever it is in the world that you're making this story of, and it will actually connect further. I find that very interesting.
Also, I think that the perceptions of Northern Ireland was very narrow for a long time, and what the media was feeding the world about here was very narrow and very dark, and we were some sort of religious bigots stuck away up in the north somewhere, and for it to open up over the years, watch it loosening and loosening and loosening, and then we get into the specifics of all of a sudden a place like Derry, because everybody thinks of, when they think Northern Ireland, they think of Belfast. Not make it about Belfast, make it about Derry, and then all those little intricacies of how Derry people talk to each other becomes international, and I just loved it for that reason. That idea of you can take some provincial and make it universal, and it's a real, as you said, it's a real indication of our humanity,
Final quick couple of questions. Collie is back in season 4?
Yeah.
Great.
And
will
there
Great,
be-
that's great.
And,
Is this news to you?
No, it's not.
and will there be a season 5?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know that. No, that's a good
Please keep
question.
watching, that might help.
Please. It's a great moment
No
for an
scoops?
exclusive.
No scoops?
No scoops.
No
No
idea.
idea.
No idea.
No
We
idea.
hope so.
Oh, I'm sure there will be.
Thank you both
Definitely hope so.
so much for coming in and being so,
Absolute
so
pleasure.
entertaining and
Thanks.
interesting.
Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.
Thank you. It was lovely.
Cheers.
And actually, if you're listening on BBC Sound, you can go back a couple of weeks, about 5, 6 weeks.
Yeah, about 5 weeks.
And Louise sat down with Tara. It's really interesting about how Blue Lights came about.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant episode, Louise. Thank you.
On Tuesday, we were talking to Darren McIntyre, also here at the Belfast Media Festival. It's a really interesting listen about his latest documentary and a career of investigative journalism in Northern Ireland and beyond, so you'll find that as well. Can I thank the audience so much for being here at the Mac in Belfast for this, our first live outing. You've made
Hopefully
it
not the last.
Well, we'll see. I hope not. But thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a million. And as always, the email to get in touch, thestateofus@bbc.co.uk. And we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.